My name is Louis the 16th. I am 15 years old. My grandfather is the King of France.
My name is Marie Antoinette. I am 15 years old and I'm the Archduchess from Austria.
We were married in the year of 1770.
The arranged marriage was a political gesture.
Our marriage symbolized the alliance between France and Austria, who had been enemies for centuries.
4 years after our marriage, King Louis XV died.
When my grandfather passed away, he left France on the brink of chaos and economic collapse. We had no voice within the government. The First and Second Estate continued to implement harsher taxes, further increasing our constant starvation and suffering.
With barely enough food to feed ourselves, thousands of children are dying due to the harsh winters.
Meanwhile, the members of the Third Estate, consisting of the bourgeoisie, workers of France's cities, and peasants like me, were forced to pay half of our income in dues to the nobles, tithes to the church, and taxes to the court of King Louis XVI.
After a poor harvest, the cost of flour rose, causing a shortage of bread. Since it was a staple of the French diet, people started to turn into savages for a small loaf of bread.
We are running out of options. We want equality, liberty, and democracy. We will stop at nothing to achieve this goal. Despite France's woes and state of despair, Marie and I continued to splurge on expensive and lavish items.
Versailles was an oasis of extravagance, surrounded by despair. France was corrupted, and even the heavens seemed angry at us.
Today I received a letter of complaint from Maximilien Robespierre. It stated, "Do you know why there are so many needy people? It is because your luxurious existences devours in one day the substance of 1,000 men." June 20th, 1789, the Third Estate held a meeting at the hall in Paris.
They found the place locked and believed it was a blatant attempt by King Louis XVI to end their demands.
Instead, they held their meeting in a nearby tennis court.
Molière proposed that the Third Estate should form an oath of alliance.
The proposal stated that the Third Estate should remain assembled together until a new reformed constitution is written. A couple weeks later, on July 14th, 1789, angry citizens broke into the fortress of Bastille in an attempt to acquire arms and ammunition.
The besiegers easily broke through the arsenal and wanted the Bastille's governor. He was captured, shot, stabbed, then dragged through the streets of Paris.
When I came back from a hunting trip, my messenger barged in and said, "Sire, the Bastille has fallen." I asked, "Is it a revolt?" He replied with, "No, it is a revolution."
October 5th, 1789, a hungry mob of 7,000 working-class women decided to march to our home in Versailles.
They blamed my wife for the shortage of bread and shouted threats to kill and rape her.
I tried to convince King Louis to flee with the children to Austria.
I absolutely refused. Sensing that she was a target of the mob, she slept alone that night, separating herself from us.
The next day, we sought refuge in my husband's chambers. The crowd demanded me to come to the balcony. I went outside with muskets pointed at me and bowed my head.
The mob demanded for me and my family to move to Paris. I never saw Versailles again. January 20th, 1792, after a month-long trial, I was convicted and sentenced to death by guillotine.
I watched as he was taken by carriage, surrounded by thousands of armed men, to his own death.
I died innocent. I pardoned my enemies, and I hope that my blood will be useful to the French, that it will appease God's anger.
His head fell into a basket and was presented to the people, who cried, "Vive la nation!"
I was the first victim of the Reign of Terror.
I plunged into a deep mourning, refusing to eat, and my health deteriorated rapidly. 9 months after the execution of King Louis, I was tried and convicted of treason. I was carried off in a criminal cart to be guillotined on October 16, 1793. Thus ended the reign of absolute monarchy in France. However, the reign of terror has just begun.